Hi, this is Fran with Stampendous, and this is our Watercolor Series week number 140. And I have enjoyed this all year, and this is the last official video of the Watercolor Series. And I hope that, thank you, those of you that have been following all along. And I know many of you won't get to watching this till later, but that's okay. All of this fun learning is going to be there for you whenever you're ready. And today we're going to do some fun little watercolors with our basket bikes, and then we're going to have some more fun with the Lighthouse Cottage, which is a really fun one. So let's get started with the bike first, and we'll show you a couple of variations here. So this one I stamped just by itself on the small panel, and this is, let me double check. 3 by 3.5. Okay, this one was a bit larger. This one is 3 3/4 square, 3 3/4 by 4. And this is the smaller one here, which gives you a little bit more play on your card layout. So let's do some painting on this one, and I think we'll start with a little vignette of the sky. And on this one, I think I like that vignette shape of things, so I'll just make sure my brush is wet enough to move along, and we'll get some soft blue in here and just kind of round out the corners like we've been doing. It just kind of frames the rest of the painting nicely, I think. And we'll add a little bit more of that phthalo blue, soften our clouds. Just lift a little bit of color there. Okay, and while that's drying, let's set some some green grass down below. And here I had greens that came from my yellow and phthalo blue, but I quite prefer the more olivey colors, which I get from the yellow with the marine blue. We're almost out of marine there, but we'll have enough to do this. So anyway, I'll come in here and just do some quick brush strokes of green. And again, by leaving white around the details of the bike, that's just the easy way to get the illusion of a sky and have it easy to paint around. So I think I like the idea of the yellow flowers on this one again. So we'll do yellows, add some of the orangey gamboge color to. And I'm just going to reach up above to some of the gamboge that it was next to the brown so that I can get more of a tan color for my basket. And I guess I'll go ahead and do my reds, since that doesn't touch any other colors that are drying. My rose. I must say, using these Daniel Smith paints all year have just been amazing, and limiting myself to those 6 colors and mixing, I hope you've enjoyed and appreciated just how much you can do and what you've learned in terms of color mixing, and I've just had a lot of fun with it. These paints are just wonderful. My one brush has done everything I've needed all year. I must say, I've done a lot of painting, and you might by the end of the year have worn out the finest tips of the brush that you need for detail, but I can still form it and do this much detail, so that's saying a lot. As we've been mixing our black, I've had some that dried in the palette, so a damp brush makes it very easy now to lift nice black my tires. I remember the tricycle I had when I was little, and we were on some pretty rough gravel roads, and I remember my tire had pretty much worn through. It was kind of on rims on gravel. That didn't work so well. And we had some hills, so that was precarious. I think I'll go with a red leather seat here. Getting those little bit darker greens down here. Paint a lot more green in between the flowers up here. Okay, pretty simple. You've got lots of messages in this set to add some fun things to your card. So let's take a look at our Lighthouse Cottage. We've got two main sections here, and either one of them works beautifully by itself. And I would do the same vignette approach to painting some blue and around the water, and just kind of let it fade away just past where the lines are on this one. This one I stamped this whole cluster, and then I added just the seagull in there. And I wanted to show you that in some of the other little bit of leftover space, I've given you a couple of lines. Now this could be to where you didn't see the water at all if you just left it like that. But I've done one little stamp here that gives me some horizon lines in a little segment, then I can add it in just like that. And if I want to just fade away to the edges from there, this makes a beautiful card by itself. But I thought, just given the time that we have, instead of painting each one of these separately, I would show you how I bring it all together in this slim card. And basically I've stamped here, and we will let you see my process of stamping here and see how it all comes together, just as if it was planned. I like a stamp set that you really get your mileage out of it. So this time, before I even start stamping, I'm going to establish my horizon line with this clear ruler. And I'm just going to use it as my measurement here. Let's see if I think I can make it work if I start at the very top edge and just use the ruler itself. And I'm going to take a pencil and just kind of line in the middle, okay? And that made it easy to measure from the top down. So now as I do my stamping, I'm going to aim for that pencil line. So I'm level, I'm just slightly below that line, but I will now work with that. Now this one is more forgiving because I can stamp it down low or higher up because that water line is a separate stamp. I'm going to stamp about here, and now that pencil line will help me to use this little stamp come all the way across. And in this case, my house has a straight edge to it, so I'm just going to cover it and see if I can stamp part of this again. On this one, I stamped starting from this side, and I just left it open in the middle, and then I painted in the rest of my horizon, but I did use a marker over it later. So anyway, let's try this. I wiped away a little bit of that bottom edge. Okay, so that will work. And now that we have that line in place, I'm just going to take my kneaded eraser here and carefully get rid of the pencil before I start painting. Make sure your ink is dry. Okay, now I have a level horizon line. So here you can see another area where there's nothing stamped, and I wanted to make it simple for you. And let's see, I will use the water a little bit more. So with this being a separate little stamp, I can turn it around either way, and I'm going to stamp it a couple more times, maybe turning it both ways and kind of setting it off at different levels. And let me stamp it again down here. Okay, that'll give me kind of just some ripples of the water. And this is now looks like a harbor. Makes me think of Doc Martin and Port Wynne, which has such a narrow harbor. You can enjoy seeing houses and things on both sides. But this could be just about anywhere. And just to give you an idea, on this one I just sort of painted, but let's say you draw a wiggly line, maybe a little bit further up. That's now going to look like the bank of the waterfront here along the cove, okay? And we will paint in the rest of it. Oh, we need some seagulls. There's 3 of them in the set. And again, just stamp them at some different angles, and let's see here. So you usually get a good layout if you kind of have 2 things close together and one further away, and they can be at any distance coming in for landing. I just wanted to mention that the seagulls would be a perfect time to use our fine line masking fluid pen to preserve the white of the seagull while we do some blue sky. So I removed my cap, and I didn't plan ahead to where this would have time to dry. So I'll just explain anyway. This needle tip here will allow you to fill in, and then you'll get like a light bluish tint to it, and then that has to completely dry before you start painting. But the amazing thing of this masking pen is that it has a wire in the cap, and that seals that fine line so that it stays okay. But anyway, this has a super nib, that fine tip, that allows you to do little tiny detail. Let it dry completely, and then you can paint over it. And when you're done painting and your sky or whatever is dry, then you can simply roll away that masking fluid, and it's kind of like a rubber cement, but it's a fine applicator. Get a nice little puddle going of my phthalo blue for the sky. Such a beautiful color. Doing a lot of puzzles, and sometimes you get to that sky and you just see all those blue pieces with some interesting patterns to our clouds. We get a little bit more definition here. Luckily, the tip of my brush allows me to come in and work around my little seagulls. Another little splash of water is what created all the interesting little watermarks along the top edge on that one. Okay, that looks good. It'll dry a bit lighter. So I think it's nice here to kind of have a bit of this beautiful blue-green color. It kind of brings your eye there to that spot. And now we'll kind of work it in to our harbor here. And this could be any number of places, so you can decide where you want it to be. That is a really rich color. So it's okay, leave a little bit of white along some of these white caps here. And just by penciling that line, you kind of know where you want to start and stop. Flood some more water here. Okay, and we maybe could do some salt or something for some texture like we were doing last time. But that's creating some interesting enough little watermarks that I think I'm just going to let that dry. Okay. I think I'll do the blues here since there's nothing around them wet yet, and we'll just do blue shutters, cute little blue door, and a blue gate as well. The boat is really taking our attention there with the vivid reds, so some blue on the gate I think here is good. I'm going to do some of my browns and grays next. Well, let's start with some gray here. So on our lighthouses, if I just do some grays, that's going to give some dimension to areas of white that at least have some shadow. Same with our cottage. Got the texture of old stone here. Interesting to do a sunset in the sky and deepen the colors, but for this one we'll stick with our bright sunlight colors for now. Let's do some grays here on the cliffs. Just doing it rather random, but if we get some grays and then we get some browns, a darker shade of brown, and let all of that just kind of mix in together here. And maybe a little bit more of some reddish brown. Assume these are rocks to watch out for here, peeking up out of the water. Okay, let's do a reddish brown here for the cottage roof. Also do an interesting slate blue. Okay, and then we'll do a sand and some sandy color here in the foreground. Shadow it here under the boat, and why not put some salt in there? Maybe this time we'll put a little bit more sandy area back here as well. Okay, we'll let that dry and we'll move to doing some greens on this side. I'm assuming my light is coming from out here in the center this time, and I'm kind of shadowing things to both sides, and certainly what's behind this little wall or behind the trees would be more shadowed colors. Okay, and now I think it's safe to go for our vivid rose red here on the roofs. Maybe we tone it down with just a little bit of the brown to get a little bit more of a brick red. Tone it down just a little bit. And let's add a little bit more color back to our roof over here. So now this boat, being as bright as it is, would look like it just got painted. So I think we'll tone it down a little bit this time. It's still kind of fun to have all of those vivid colors. So we'll start with some vivid colors and then we'll tone it down. It's still quite wet, as you can see. I don't mind the colors kind of mixing in together to give us a little bit more of an aged paint look. So on our water, this faded out quite a bit. So I think on this one, I'll come back in with some small brush strokes of blue just to build up some of that color. So we'll do little horizontal lines. A light touch to it here. Yeah, I think that adds some nice detail, and it'll dry a little bit softer blue anyway. So let's see if I've missed anything here. Do a little bit more shading on our little gate. Okay, so we'll let that dry a little bit more before we remove the tape. And we'll let you take a quick look at our little gallery. And thanks so much for watching. I hope you've had fun with this watercolor series, and it's here for you to enjoy and come back to at any time that you're ready to try your hand at the next little miniature watercolors for card making. So I have learned so much by using all of these particular products all year, and the different stamp sets have just been fun. So I hope you've enjoyed it, and I'll be back with some other videos, I'm sure, before too long. So thank you for watching and following my watercolor series. Bye-bye.